Now, the U.S. state of Wisconsin has elected a liberal judge to its Supreme Court in a race that's been seen as a gauge of Donald Trump's approval early in his second term. The win by Democratic-aligned Susan Crawford maintains the court's 4-3 liberal majority. Nearly $100 million was spent on campaigning, making this the most expensive judicial election in U.S. history. Trump advisor Elon Musk handed out million-dollar checks to some voters who supported the conservative candidate. In her victory speech, Crawford took aim at Musk and denounced his involvement in the race.
As a little girl growing up in Chippewa Falls, I never could have imagined that I'd be taking on the richest man in the world. For justice in Wisconsin. And we won. And Wisconsins stood up and said loudly that justice does not have a price. Our courts are not for sale.
Well, for some analysis, let's bring in Brandon Bohrn here. He's a U.S. political analyst with the Bertelsmann Foundation, a think tank here in Germany. Welcome to the program. Brandon, Elon Musk did his best to sway this election in Wisconsin and lost. To what extent would you say this was a referendum on him and his work for Donald Trump?
Well, I think in many ways it showed that in some cases Elon Musk on the campaign trail is actually more of a liability than an asset. We know that in the past 2 weeks, as we heard in Stewart's victory speech, that she was less going against her Republican opponent and more against Elon Musk. This is something that I think both Republican and Democratic strategists are paying attention to. And I think it'll probably impact to what extent we see Elon Musk on the campaign trail, at least publicly, moving forward.
So just trying to figure out what this means for Musk and by extension Trump. But do you think, if I hear you correctly, that this election result will deter Musk maybe from similar actions in the future?
I mean, look, if we look back to November of 2024, Donald Trump won Wisconsin by less than a percentage point. Stewart won last night by 9 percentage points. That represents an incredible swing. And we know that Elon Musk was involved partly out of business interests as well. I think this could represent a shift. Even if we go to the elections that were taking place in Florida recently, or yesterday, I should say, all of this paints a more positive picture for Democrats moving forward, and is in some ways, as you said, a referendum on at least the current administration and Musk's actions.
Now, Elon Musk paid potential voters, some of them a lot of money, to influence their choice in this election. Is that even legal?
In terms of the legality, I believe he certainly did similar actions leading into the 2024 election. And I believe at one point in time, at least, a judge did deem that to be a lawful action. But, I think what's important for American voters to understand is that, taking a step back, is he doing this out of the kindness of his heart? Probably not. We know that, especially in Wisconsin, there were economic interests. There were interests for his company Tesla, which, for example, Tesla is currently not able to sell directly to consumers in the state. That's a law that's currently up for review, likely by the Supreme Court. That could explain the reason why Elon Musk spent $21 million of his own money on this election. And I think in some ways it sort of mirrors what's taking place at the national level, the concerns that Americans have over the Department of Government efficiency and its efforts with a look to Musk's own interests with his companies.
Now, Musk had said that this election would affect the fate of the whole country. What does Susan Crawford's victory mean?
Well, it means something quite significant. And excuse me, I think I said Stewart earlier, of course, Crawford. This is, as I said, this was a 10 percentage point swing for Crawford. This is, at first glance, this is a one seat on one court in one state. But in actuality, we're talking about the balance of a court the highest judicial authority in one of the most important swing states in the U.S. This is a body that not only decides on important political issues like abortion, labor laws, education, but it also impacts voting laws and how elections function. This body will decide redistricting laws going into the midterms next year, at which time the Democrats hope to regain control of the House of Representatives that's currently being governed by a very slim majority of Republicans. So it's a state whose elections have serious national implications. That's why it's so important.
Brandon, thank you very much for helping us understand what's going on there. That was Brandon Bohrn with the Bertelsmann Foundation.